Coming up, we're going to discuss the new Christopher Robin movie.
Because sometimes the best things come from nothing. Hey everyone, welcome back to Eye to Eye, Disney Through Our Eyes. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Jessica.
It's time for another movie review. This time, Christopher Robin, but the movie, I just keep wanting to call it the Winnie the Pooh movie.
I know.
Because it just feels weird having a movie about Winnie the Pooh.
But it's really not about Winnie the Pooh, it's about Christopher Robin.
But that's like, let's be honest, if Winnie the Pooh wasn't in this movie, we wouldn't care. Right. I mean, not that we like the character of Christopher Robin, but it's...
Do we, though?
I do. I mean... I
think it's more about, like you said, Winnie the Pooh and his friends.
It is, but they all need each other to, you know...
But the TV show really didn't have Christopher Robin ever in it.
You know, it was a book before a TV show, so it's
I do know that, but I'm saying the TV show.
Didn't he? Wasn't he in it? Anyway.
He would be like in the first little bit, and then the whole show was about Winnie the Pooh and his friends.
That's true. We've gotten down a rabbit hole already, and not rabbits. Rabbit holes. See, we did it at the same time there. Let's talk about what we thought about Christopher Robin, the live-action adaptation to the Winnie the Pooh characters.
It is a live adaptation. That's kind of weird to think about.
I mean, did you think that, Ewan McGregor and Hayley Atwell were not real people?
You get so invested in the movie, you don't think that those are real people. Like, you just think they're all cartoons or they're all not cartoons.
Well, let's start at the beginning then with the very first shots. So you see the picture book opening up, just like the classical thing.
That was awesome to me. I loved that. And I loved how, like, the first probably 10 minutes of the movie, it was pretty fast paced. Like, it was Christopher Robin meets Evelyn, Christopher Robin gets married to Evelyn. Like, it was really quick, and the chapters moved pretty rapidly. So I liked that, and I liked that it was the old school element of the yellowed book pages.
Yeah, it was like the one in which she meets. It's almost like the Friends episode, the one in which they meet each other. What about, like, we see a younger Christopher Robin, the one we're most accustomed to at the very beginning of it. We got to see all the characters at the very beginning in their live action adaptation with the more teddy bear look for Pooh, the more doll look for everybody. The funniest thing I found was that owl wasn't like a stuffed animal look. He looked like an owl. No, he looked
like a real owl. That really threw me off because when he was sitting on that branch, I was like, oh, that's just an owl in the woods.
Right.
No, that is owl.
What about Rabbit, too? Rabbit kind of looked real-ish to me, too.
Yeah, ish. Because then you had, like, Kanga and Roo that looked like they were made out of felt in somebody's backyard.
Right.
So it was kind of weird, the differentiation between all the different animals.
And I'd love to know why they made that decision. Or was that always the intention, that these couple of characters were actually live animals, and then the other core group were, like, his imagination, bringing them to life?
Well, I mean, I would think that's fair. I mean... I don't know how to phrase this, but Winnie the Pooh, like, I know he's a bear, but when have you seen a yellow bear that wears a red shirt?
I was about to say, with wearing a red shirt, too.
Never. Like,
speaking of which...
Rabbit and Owl, they don't wear clothes.
That's true. And then Roo and Kanga wears the apron normally.
Yeah.
And then Piglet's got the scarf and his little whatever it is he's wearing.
I'm still confused if Piglet's a boy. I think Piglet is a girl.
I don't really... It's just Piglet. We'll just call it Piglet. How about that?
Tigger doesn't wear clothes, though.
But no, he wears the stripes.
But that's not clothes.
I'm just trying to make a point there. All right, so moving on. So it's a very dark movie. I won't call it dark, but almost depressing when we see what's happened to Christopher Robin. What do you think about that?
Well, just like most adults do, they forget their childhood and they get bogged down in work. I'd say every adult except Kyle Loomis, but... you just, life moves on and you lose your priorities. And I think that was kind of sad. And it kind of made every adult in the theater, I think, take a look at their life and realize, family is the most important thing I've got. And at the end of the day, are you going to remember if you worked a lot or if you hung out with your family a lot?
Right.
Go with the latter.
Well, I think that's a good point, too, is that if you looked at this movie, there's two different movies in here, two different messages that can be taken for our two groups of people, adults and kids. And I think they did a good job of telling two different stories within the same story here, which is I really appreciated, because it made us old school people who love Winnie the Pooh, who already know who he is. They had all the phrases in there. They had the songs. I mean, Tigger had his little, every most wonderful thing about Tigger's.
Tigger's a
and what was Pooh's exercise one where he did the I go up, down, to the ground.
I've never heard that before.
You never heard that? Well, that's his exercise one. I used to recite that.
I wasn't super into the TV show growing up. So.
But that's from like the movies, like the original.
I never saw the movies, actually.
She continues to disappoint me every single day. I'm just kidding. Anyway, that just means we've got more to do.
Guess our marriage is a disappointment to you. Sorry.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time here. All right. So what did you think about the rest of the story there? Because after we see how he's, had a bad time of it, we see basically that Pooh is the savior for Mr. Robin again. What do you think?
That is kind of weird. I thought it was hilarious when Pooh comes into the scene. It was almost that comic relief that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
The movie was really depressing, and there was just that neighbor that kind of was funny, but for a while it was just sad. Like his marriage was falling apart, like his kid is going to boarding school, like everything was really sad. And then here comes Pooh, and Pooh like wreaks havoc on his house and messes up.
That was surprisingly funny.
It was hysterical. He like breaks all the dishes, and then when he steps in the honey and you can just hear the honey on the floor,
and he gets stuck on the rug.
Oh no. That was really funny.
It was a very good humor in this.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't overly slapstick, but it was just, stuff Pooh would do. Pooh doesn't care if he's getting it all over himself, and he doesn't think about the consequences of walking through the thing.
I mean, Pooh is like, how old is Pooh?
He's a bear of very little brain with a very big heart.
Is that a line
that was a line in it. Did you fall asleep during that part of it?
Probably.
No, Christopher Robin looks at him and Pooh says, I am a bear of very little brain, but you're a bear of very big heart.
When did that happen? I swear you made that up.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
I was too busy getting worried about the honey getting all in his fur.
There is a divide in the movie, I think, though.
Okay, tell me
where
the divide.
You actually see Christopher Robin get saved kind of midway through the movie. Like he gets convinced by his friends when he kind of goes back to the 100 acre wood.
The what?
100 acre wood.
Okay.
And sees them all again, and he learns his lesson that he needs to take things, a little bit more seriously with his family.
But does he really? Because the first thing he immediately does is not say hi to his family and tries to go back to work.
But I think he's at least at that point of where he's now. He was always struggling with it, but now he knows where his priorities need to be, but he still needs to provide for his family. So I think his scales are tilted more up towards his family, but he's still got that thing that he's got to finish for work there.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. I was a little disappointed that he still tried to run away from his daughter.
But then we see his daughter meeting Pooh and all the gang. What did you think about that sequence?
That was really cool. That was something I was not anticipating. I also didn't know that his daughter was going to play such a big part in this movie. So I thought that was a really nice... It just kind of brought everything back together. Like, It reminded you of Christopher Robin when he was young in the 100 Acre Wood, and now it's Madeline. And I thought that was really funny when they were like, what's a Madeline?
There too. And that's where you got Tigger sing his song. They introduced... So it was almost like... This first part of the movie is for you adults. Get the lesson here that you need to be taken. But now, let's really focus in on the kids and make them appreciate Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Eeyore. Speaking of which, let's take an aside here. Eeyore is the man. Eeyore.
He's so depressing.
I try to be such a happy person, but deep down I've got this little Eeyore in me, and that's why I just love that little guy.
Thanks for noticing.
I mean, he just had every bit of dry humor that I was
Let's talk about the game that they played on the train.
Say what you see. Door, poster, pillow, and then Eeyore says crap like.
What did he say?
He's like, despair. Disappointment.
Hopelessness.
And then, everybody had their little things that they were seeing, but I think Eeyore's were definitely the best.
They were hysterical. I don't know that anybody else in the theater laughed like we did.
We were probably cackling at that point. I mean, Eeyore is the man.
And can't you see some little kid, playing that game out the car window? Like, red car, blue car, stop sign. That would be so annoying.
But I found myself getting annoyed by Pooh doing that, too, at the very beginning, so it's kind of made me think, I'm more like Christopher Robin now. I need to appreciate the little things.
I'm sorry. I love children so much, but I will not appreciate some kid in the backseat telling me everything they see on the side of the road. Leaves, grass. No, shh.
And then you're like the reality part of it with your despair, disappointment, anguish, death, destruction.
Whoa.
No, I went a little bit darker with it.
Whoa, that was really dark for Christopher Robin. Okay, bring it back.
Because there is a happy ending to all this. We see with the problems that he's having at work, Christopher Robin, because of his friends. Not actually, it was his wife who says the thing that brings his kind of gives him an idea.
But it's actually his daughter that saves his booty.
That's true, I guess, in a sense. Why do you think that, though?
She brought him all of the papers. She realized these are Dad's papers that are really important. Remember? And she steals all the toys, and they go running down, and they like jump in that thing, and then they're in another thing, and then they're running down the street.
Did y'all get any of that? But she lost them all at the end, though.
But I wasn't gonna spoil it!
But I guess we should have done this begin spoilers.
Well, but she almost made it. She was at the building, and then she tripped down the stairs, which is something I would definitely do. And then all the papers went flying in the air.
Jessica.
But she saved the one.
She did save the one.
The one that changed his whole presentation, and he got it right, and then he won his job.
So let's look at the sequence of events here. Christopher Robin's in a bad place. The people that start... the items, the souls, stuffed animals. His
things?
Friends are the ones who start bringing him back to the place. His daughter is kind of the bridge, and then his wife, the most important person in his life, is the one that kind of finally, brings it all to fruition. When she says, you need to look at things a different way, he goes. And I was like,
and then he doesn't lose his job.
He doesn't lose his job. He actually gets his other boss in trouble, which I thought was
really
funny. It was very funny because it's a typical thing. There is that stereotype of the person above you makes you work more, and then they go off and play golf. So there is that type of thing. But it's nice to see the little guy get the win in the end.
I'm really glad that we don't work for bosses like that. Saying, I would be so mad.
So our boss is watching this. We love you. Just put that out there.
Give us a raise, maybe.
One of my other favorite parts were in the real world watching people react to the characters.
Like when the car crashed because he heard Eeyore talking, and then when we saw this in the trailer, but when all the stuffed animals come flying, they land on the car. Oh, that's what was funny. Remember when Christopher Robin said to them, "This is my wife Evelyn," and then at the end of the movie they're like, "Goodbye, my wife Evelyn."
Eeyore says that. I was like, Eeyore, man, come on. He doesn't even know what he's saying.
Why is that so funny?
I don't know.
Just is.
My favorite part was the exchange between the cab driver, the police officer, and then the person whose cart the cab driver drove into. And it's like, did you see that? No, did you see? No, we saw nothing. We don't want any part of what this just happened because every one of them thinks they're on drugs at this point.
Right. It's like black magic.
So I was really interested to see how they were going to make all that pull off with the animals in the real world, but they did it with flying colors, I thought.
And Pooh looked so cuddly. Like, I'd want to carry him around.
I want one of them too.
I mean, he just looked like snuggly. And...
I want one of them too. If you had to pick one of the big four, you can pick one of the other ones. That is that version of the character that you could have as a doll. Which would you pick?
Pooh.
I'd pick Eeyore in a heartbeat. Tigger's fun.
Tigger is normally my very favorite character, but just the way they made Pooh's shape, like, you just want to squish him and love him.
Squish him to death?
I never said to death. Why are you so obsessed with death tonight? Oh my gosh!
All right, move away from death. Let's pick a way to rate this movie on a scale.
Well, obviously, Honeypots.
I was thinking Red Balloons because that had such a significant part of the movie.
You know what? When I hear Red Balloons, I think of the movie It.
Oh,
so...
talk about going to different directions in this.
You said death!
All right, Honeypots is our rating system. 1 out of 5, 1 being the least that you give it, and 5 being the most that you give.
This is not people's first time rating things. I think they know the way it goes.
Just making sure it's all set out there. All right, what's your rating?
4 Honeypots.
4? That's it? Just 4?
Well, I feel like 5 needs to be reserved for like a movie about Jesus. So.
Wow, she went there with that. I'm going to say 5 Honeypots for this because...
this is like Jesus
apparently. No, this is a good Disney movie. This is fun for everybody. This, I think, is a good example of when people ask, why are you so into Disney as an adult? My answer to them now is going to be this. Because this tells you exactly, it's got an important lesson in it. It's funny.
It's clean.
It's for everyone. If we had more movies like this in the theaters... This wouldn't solve all the world's problems, obviously, but I feel like there'd be a lot more goodness in the world. This is just a good, classic Disney movie, and you need to go see it right now. 5 for me.
4.5 for me. How
see, now you're going to do the 4.5. Would you go see it again in theaters?
I mean, yeah, if I got it to go for free.
I didn't think I'd say this about the free. No, you have to pay money. Would you pay money to go see this again?
But that's not fair because there's really no movie in the world that I would go pay to see.
I'm just curious, but I think that holds more weight if you
Okay, fine.
You can say no.
I would go see it again!
I would definitely go pay to see this again. I will see if I have the time to, but it's definitely a good movie, and I think you should go see it. This makes me feel how Coco made me feel last year.
Please,
And
let's
she
not talk
hated
about that
Coco.
again. I did not hate Coco. I just don't love it like you did. I like this way better.
Well, we want to know what you think about Christopher Robin if you have seen it in the comments section below. Let us know down there. We'd love to see your thoughts on it. What else should they do?
Silly old bear. I just had to get that in.
By the way, I got that right. They said it 3 times. I called it.
Good job. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you get a notification every time we put out a new video. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter.
And that's all for this episode. But until we assemble again,
may the force be with you.
And we'll see you real soon.
Bye. That's not the line though. What is it? Nothing leads to something. We're gonna discuss the new...
What sound did you just make? And because you sometimes, I don't know what I'm gonna say. Silly willy-nilly old bear.